We're absolutely thrilled to welcome you to the 20th podcast episode of Let's Talk. A heartfelt thank you to our new followers for your support and encouragement. Our podcast is not just another conversation, it's a deep dive into the inspiring stories of our guests. If you're here to aspire success in your career, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel. Without further ado, let's get started. It's Let's Talk, and I'm your host Aisha. Today with us we have Mr. Sameer Shaikh. Welcome, sir.
Hello, welcome. Thanks, Aisha. Thank you.
He is the Global Capability Center leader and country manager at XPO. With more than 25 years of experience, he has played a key role in building high performance teams, driving business growth. He has also led large scale transformation initiatives. His passion of innovation and people led leadership has helped shape modern GCCs, create lasting business impact. We are thrilled to have him with us and share his insights on leadership. So, to start off, sir. You've spent over 2 decades in building and scaling global technology organizations. So, leading business transformation and driving innovation. Could you take us through your journey and share the experience that has shaped your leadership philosophy?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Aisha and SNS, to have me here. I think it's a great, privilege to talk about not just on what we have gone through in our journeys, but also to educate some of the future startup founders and innovators. I'll basically just take like a crunch dive into what my journey has been. I'm basically education wise a commerce graduate. I passed out, specialized in marketing and sales, and an accidental IT person who loved or was fond of a game called Dev. I don't know many people have played this a DOS-based game. From there, I think the passion towards computing was created, and I got into programming. Started my career with a company called Telegenesis, which was into e-com products and hotels and travel portals. Basically, worked there for a couple of years, where my journey led me from a software engineer to a lead, basically leading a team of around 20 to 50 engineers mainly. And then I think gradually I moved over to one or two companies. Cinecron was one of them, where I worked in the US for a couple of years for a social media giant. Coming back, I think in 2006, I started with a very small company called Build Online, which eventually grew into becoming iDocs later. And this is the GCC that I formed in India, basically in 2009 sometime. Um, Probably with 10 people, and that's the journey that we took as an organization that was building software SaaS products to drive and deliver into nuclear, into energy and E&T markets. We built a collaboration portfolio out here from India, starting with being a maintenance team to becoming a strategic, what I call as flagship product owner. Was our journey. From 2009 until 2021, I worked with iDocs, leading and growing the team from almost 1 to 150. Currently, I work with XPO. XPO is a transport logistics company based out in Pune. I'm heading the GCC from here in Pune, where we are roughly around 400 plus people. My responsibilities span over the India operations to take care of tech, finance, and some other small pieces. Again, I think we are in a different scale here. We are innovating. We are doing a lot of AI. We are talking about a lot of transformation on the digital sphere. But that has been my journey, in terms of like setting up 2 GCCs in India from 29 and onwards. Talking about leadership, I think, I have been always lucky to have great mentors on all the way from, all the organizations that I work with, great peers who I learned from. But I think the most valuable leadership lesson and insight I got from were my teams. I think they were the key mentors that eventually drove me to be better. I think when you have an amazing team that changes the status quo, that keeps challenging you, that demands that you come up with creative uh, problem solving. I think it changes a lot in a leader as well. And I think I'm proud to have worked with some amazing people. Led by some amazing people, worked with some of the amazing teams, and that's where we are.
That's really an inspiring story. Like, lot way.
Thank you.
So, moving on to the next question. Like, GCCs have evolved beyond being delivery centers. So, in your view, what separates a GCC that simply executes work from one creates the real business value and drives enterprise transformation and innovation?
So let me put it this way that the first thing that any organization really decides when they build up a GCC is the cost arbitrage. They want to really look out at cost effective solutions, and that is how it has been all the time. If you want your GCC to be really impactful, beyond the cost part, there's a lot more that needs to happen. So coming into as times have changed, I think the decision trees have changed, the ownerships have changed, and I keep hearing this in various GCC conclaves and conferences that we need ownership, we need product ownership, we need what we call as P&L accountability, and we need innovation lab or innovation to start from here. I think I'm just going to go back to a very, very basic thing. I think as an organization in India, if you want to be partnering with your businesses that are spread out in other countries, you need to start as a GCC. You need to start owning the business problems, and once you start doing that, I think the scope, the scale, and the capability that we really call in for the GCC to contribute to the real results changes. So, giving an example, we are like, India GCCs are really good at operational excellence. You give us the tasks and we can get it done, in time, in budget, with good quality. And that will not take the GCC from level 1 to level 5 in the maturity model, right? And if you want to get in that maturity model far ahead, I think your teams need to understand business very well.
Definitely.
So, if as I say, like, we are in logistics, so our teams need to understand logistics better, how freight works, how it moves, what are the challenges, what are the key components, how is the pricing done, how is the business model flowing in, what are the typical, growth blockers, operational challenges. And hence I always say that your first most important priority is to understand business and start solving business problems and deliver business outcomes. So when we talk about ownership, I don't think it really matters if you have a owner for a particular product defining what the requirement is and delivering it out, right? In a traditional software development group, that's what we would do. But just imagine, like, you have a business problem saying in that, hey, your freight can move in from, one place to another in a better way. I think that taking that problem into the solution is something that can change the way you do business in your headquarters, right? And I believe that once you start owning the business problems, you will be able to innovate. You will be able to come up with solutions that are not being thought over earlier. You can come up with solutions that may be very, very robust and flexible. And most importantly, I think you will be able to make a contribution to either the top line or the bottom line. So I think the first and the most critical thing that I feel is owning the business problems and taking charge of the business outcomes.
That's really amazing. So, moving on to the next question. Like, organizations are investing heavily in AI, but technology alone doesn't guarantee transformation. From your experience, what are the biggest barriers preventing enterprises from realizing the full value of AI?
But now we are living actually in very interesting times. Okay. AI is everywhere. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to show that they're doing something about it, right? And I think not just our India ecosystem on the GCCs, but also our global operations, they all are fascinated by the word. If they're impacted by FOMO, right? Like you don't you if someone says that they're not doing AI, they basically would be
The
looked
90s.
at a very different way. Yes. Now, when we talk about AI, I think we need to take like a bit of a step behind before you actually start looking at those journeys. I think for a long time, last couple of months or years, you can say that people were very focused on talking about use cases that were solving the problem. And this is something that I would want to tell the startup owners. That when you are building up a solution, please do not build it up for an industry alone. Don't build it up on top of a use case alone. Try to figure out on what is the core business problem that organizations are facing in and revolve your product around it. Not as a service, but as a product that can help solve that thing. Now, there are a lot of barriers, and I think before anyone can take the AI to scale, the first thing that I always tell that you know getting to a POC and delivering a POC is very easy, right? And we have seen that happening in someone in your GCC would come up and say, I have a great idea about writing a small problem solving. I can do a POC on it. The POC will be like done very quickly. Now comes the real problem that you have to put this POC into production. Now, taking that from POC to enterprise scale, you have the following barriers that come in: the data readiness. And we don't think about it until we get into it. So you may have a lot of data scattered, within enterprises. You don't have control on that data. It stays in sometimes in NoSQL databases, sometimes in databases, sometimes in file systems, sometimes in SharePoint. So getting that data readiness is important. Data is the king. Data is going to play an important role for AI solutions to scale. And that's a big barrier. There has to be some kind of concrete work to be put up in that side. The other one is basically the governance itself, right? You need to put guardrails. Otherwise, something like this would happen that every other day someone in your team will come up and say, I have built this POC. I can go into deploying it to a production. And then they will end up having token issues, having costs coming up. And nobody is talking about these things at the moment because we all are talking about use cases. So governance play a very, very important role. You need to be sure that AI is doing the right thing and AI has good enough decision tree and controls being put up so it doesn't go and messes up a system. Very recently, I was speaking to someone from a Fortune 500 finance institution, and they did their underwriting process using AI because somebody in their team built up an AI POC that would basically go and do an end-to-end closing of the underwriting process, only to realize that they were going to be sued by various clients for millions of dollars because they made small mistakes in that acceptance. So you need to have governance. You need to have governance that says that what decisions can AI take for you? What decisions will have irreversible impact that AI should not be allowed to take. So governance plays a very important role. Then comes the third part, which is technology itself. I think we all are fascinated by technology. One framework to another, one system to another, one model to another. We get very excited and we say, hey, if not, model one, model two will solve our problem, and 2 years later, model three will solve our problem. And then we go and build up and invest on top of it. I think I always tell people that if you are in various fields, in various domains, take that same decision whether you really need AI in every place. You may not, right? You may not need AI to code for you. Not every application needs to be built by AI. Not every software piece needs to be written by AI. You can make that call on what is needed, what is not needed. So I think like if you take some of these are the key barriers that happen. The biggest barrier is a mindset barrier. Like, I mean, like someone sitting in the headquarter will come up with a weird idea and say, I want this done. And then everyone within the GCCs will start working on that as a POC, right? So you need to come up with that mindset to basically understand one, who owns the solution, what is the outcome expected out of that solution? Do we really need AI, for instance? And where is the accountability? Like your accountability cannot be with just the developer, for instance. Like, oh, you wrote a AI code and now it is messed up and it's not, right? Your business owner needs to have the accountability of governance. Your process owner needs to have accountability of whether AI is needed or not and what part AI is needed. Your product owner needs to have an accountability to say that these are the modules and these are the flexibility or robustness that it needs. Your developer needs to have the accountability to, write flexible enough code that can do things in a right way, in a documented, processed way. So I think these are the very high level barriers that I feel, are stopping us from converting that POC to a enterprise scale. And if some of these barriers are upfront talk about in any organization, they would be able to solve better problems.
That was really insightful. I guess like many people will be helpful from this. So moving on to the next question. Like as enterprise accelerates their AI and digital transformation journey, do you see greater value in building every capability internally or do strategic partnerships like play a critical role in driving innovation? So what do you feel like in technology innovation partner before deciding to collaborate?
So I think like the build and buy decision keeps coming. It has always been a challenge. I think we always discuss this. My opinion on building your capabilities center um, is to have the right capabilities in house and then share some of the capabilities with partners and then basically like isolate and let some of those activities, tasks being driven by partners alone, right? It needs to be in a shared model. However, on top of all three models, the business acumen, the business intimacy, the knowledge power that comes in with the domain, that needs to be centralized, right? Now, here is the thing that happens, and we when we are basically talking into any partner, they would come up and they will say, "Hey, we have logistics solutions built, and this will fit into our function, our business, our model of business can be entirely different." And as a partner or a service provider, they have absolutely no clue on what challenges we face, on what are our, like blind spots, on what are our, significant areas of growth and improvement. So when a partner comes in, they need to make sure that they have a thorough understanding, be it practice line that they develop. At the moment, it has always been looked up from a technology skill perspective. I have a person who can write amazing Python code. So let's go back to logistics industry to say that I have the skill set that you need. So it's not about technology. It's more about like the business acumen, the understanding, right? So I do believe that partners can help shape this journey better. And to do that, the partners also need to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And that investment needs to come up from how they focus on, what industries they focus on, how much niche they have to go on both technology and domain. Or they can just kind of like, go into a model where they do part of the solutioning and take part of the, ownership of the development of the product needed. So I think that's my take on partnership. It cannot like, it's I have to say this that it will be very, very difficult to build every capability in a GCC. Right? You may not want to do that. You may not be able to afford it. With all given challenges within our ecosystem of attrition, of people wanting faster growth, people wanting to move in their roles and things like that, you may probably want to take a very, very safer approach to say build the core capabilities within your GCC. build the shared capabilities, that can evolve over a period of time with the partners, and build the innovation capability where you can get someone to do some basic part of it for you within your core system, but can work with a partner in a very isolated way to deliver something. So if you have like those two or three structures or frameworks in place, it would work out very well. And I think that is where the partnership should be also evolved.
Sure, that was really great. So, like, was there any specific time like you were excited for a partnership?
I think we do get that, like, very often. And I want to tell you this that, when we get we get invites from different products, different companies, different solutions all the time, right? And the first pitch, the PowerPoint pitch is always amazing, right? Like it just gives you a feeling that, hey, this is the angel we were waiting for years to solve our problem. And once this team allies with us or partners with us, all our problems will be gone. And that's how it starts. But like I was talking about, the problem is of scale, right? The POC to scale is a real challenge. And I think I can tell you that very recently, and probably just today, I had a demo with a company I'm not going to name here, um, who do some real good work on documentation. Key problem in our GCCs, we have seen that people write code and they don't have good documentation. The business processes are not very well written, and so on and so forth. Right now, this product that has been built, and it is an India built operated product, does an amazing job of like recording a screen and generating a user guide out of it and video out of it, and it's super cool to just look at it. Like within 10 minutes you're going to basically like create your entire learning and development structure. Um, now the first part of this is amazing, so I'm certainly excited that this is something that we'll do it. Yet I have questions, and then going back to all my 25 years, I think we have been in that stage. When it comes to scaling, do they understand the real problems, the pain points that different industry, different teams have? And if they do, then they can solve it. So I think in the India ecosystem, I want to tell you this: things have considerably changed. I was in one of a cyberfest very recently. I saw some real cool products in the cybersecurity field, space. So India is growing in that way. Like there was a time when the only thing we had to offer from India was services, that we can give you, heads, and they can develop and they can do things for you, or we can give you some product that you can retrofit into your business model. But I think now we are in a stage where we are innovating. We are building up products and platforms that can solve more core complex problems.
That was really exciting. So, moving on to the next question. At SNS Innovation Hub, we are on a mission to build 1,000 AI startups over the next decade. So, from your perspective, what enterprise problems should the next generation founders focus on solving if they want to build companies creating a lasting business impact?
So, like, I just want to say, not just for those 1,000 startup founders, for any startup founder, that they have taken the biggest step already. Like the most important thing, to find the courage, to find the passion, the view, and the drive to build something. I think that's like the biggest thing to do. However, when it comes to like building something that is lasting, I just want to say that they don't need to look at solving real complex things. We don't have to like kind of build rocket systems out here. We don't want to build very, very high complex systems out here. I think startup founders should focus on building up simple things to solve complex problems. And that simplicity, and I always tell this to people, I say simple is difficult. It's not easy. It may sound very easy, but it may not be. So one advice that I would give is, don't look at complex complexifying solutions. Try and see if you can simplify problems,
Sure.
and that would really help. That would kind of like have a drive for you to build something that will ever last, that will give you ideas to solve. The second thing is obviously, like, the business acumen of it. Try and understand the blind spots, the pain points, the real challenges of the business, rather than just generalizing a solution. So I built a product for cybersecurity. Not sure if it works. I built a product that does banking. Maybe not really it works. UPI is something very cool, and UPI did not come up as a very complex banking solution, right? We already have like whatever NEFTs and stuff like that. UPI came in like scan a code, pay it up, changes everything. So I think for startup founders, I think these are the lessons to take. Like build something which is very, very simple, but it touches upon the most core or complex part.
That was truly inspirational. So now let's move on to a fun rapid fire round. So, first question, one leadership quality every manager should develop.
Empathy. I mean, like I think that's very, very important. You need to be in someone's shoes to understand what needs to be done. And like if you empathize a customer, you can build amazing product. If you empathize with your team, you can solve their problems. If you empathize with your vendors, you'll be able to use their services in the right way. If you just in general empathize with people, you can build an amazing culture.
Great. One enterprise process you'd automate tomorrow.
uh, I think any mechanical process. We are into, we do a financial shared services. I just feel like everything in that part can be automated, should be automated.
AI first or people first?
People first.
Okay. Build or partner?
Both.
Okay. One workplace habit that limits innovation.
Um, Mindset. People, people think, oh, we already have it. Oh, it is too difficult to do. Is it worth doing? Is there an ROI? Innovation cannot happen in constrained spaces.
Okay, that was truly amazing session. I'm sure our viewers would have gained a lot of valuable insights from you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you for having me, and thank you for you and your teams to make this happen. For your teams, I just want to say you're doing an amazing job of bringing in people, creating that platform where people can come and learn and take experiences. I'm on LinkedIn. If anyone of you or your viewers would like to touch base and have a chat about, feel free to.
Sure. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Until next time, this is Aisha signing off.